So, hello everybody. I'm Vasilis Souvatzis. This is my first IT conference, and I'm quite nervous about this, and especially speaking in English, so many mistakes will be made. Now, some things about me. I'm a student of the Alexander Technological Institute of Thessaloniki, still, sadly, but hopefully not for much longer. I just finished my thesis paper on Java Enterprise 7, and it was quite a unique experience. And of course, I love Java and NetBeans. Well, Java was the first programming language that we were taught at the university. They showed us a little bit of NetBeans in order to compile our teeny tiny programs. And now that I've worked with Java Enterprise, it's something that I really love as well. And you could find me, of course, on Twitter and GitHub with this nickname. And my thesis project is on GitHub as well. Now, what I'll be talking about, this whole presentation will be an overview of my experience this past year working with Java Enterprise 7. I will mention what tools I've used and why I chose them, and I will also show you the application I made and show some of the code as well. So, let's see how all this started. On March 2014, I get assigned my thesis paper. I had 2 semesters to complete. In fact, I completed it about a couple of months ago. The topic of the thesis was to develop a web tutoring service with Java Enterprise 7. And of course, I'm supposed to hand out the project itself, the working project, and the thesis document. As I started researching about the technology, the platform, and general resources, I stumbled upon some problems. First was that the topic of the thesis itself was quite broad. Web tutoring service with Java Enterprise 7. So I had to narrow it down. Also, I had no knowledge of the platform. Actually, I had just a little bit knowledge. I knew that there are web pages, there is the app server, project is deployed on the web server, and somehow the Java classes connect everything together. Also, there are way too many resources about the platform, and sometimes that can be a bit problematic because some books or some tutorials may be outdated. Different authors use different terms. Some of them, for example, may use managed beans to connect their web pages with the Java classes. Some others may use CDI beans, and that can be a bit confusing at some point. And another problem was the overall time. Even though I had a whole year to write my thesis and build my project, I didn't know lots of things. For example, how much time something would take. Because I was the sole developer of my project, I would have to create the database, create the web pages, the Java classes, how to connect all these. And with all these various resources that I found, it was a bit more problematic, but I think I managed it. So, there were some solutions that I found in order to try and mitigate all these problems. First of all was to use the default tools. In this case, NetBeans, Glassfish, and JavaDB. NetBeans, of course, because I was already familiar with it. and I kind of know my way around it. Glassfish, because it's the default application server in the platform, and moreover, the Java Enterprise tutorials use Glassfish as the app server, so I know it works. And JavaDB, because it comes embedded with the JDK, and I don't have to install another RDBMS in order to do the simple stuff. I want it with the database anyway. I decided to incorporate some basic functionality and design into my project, and I decided I wanted to make it look like online courses such as Udemy, Udacity, the ones that provide video tutorials, and people can log in, buy the courses, and watch the material. And I was absolutely certain that I didn't want to bother with stuff such as CSS or custom JavaScripts because that would interfere with the goal of the application and maybe add even more problems. And I wanted to focus on each programmatic domain separately. For example, I wanted to start with the login mechanism, how the user logs in and out of the system. That wasn't the brightest idea I had, but I managed to fix it anyway. Then move on to the administrator's tasks, what the admins can do in the page, then what the users can do, how they can view all the online courses and whatever. So that was that. Now, how does one start building an application with very little knowledge of the underlying structure? Well, I decided to use the visual approach, which was to build my web pages first, align all the components and create the layout, which would incidentally give me a rough idea of the data that I would have to handle. For example, the string variables, or the names of the users, or the list that would contain all the courses and the lectures and that sort of things. And then I would prepare my backend bin with some dummy data that would later on fetch from the database itself. And that's when I found about prime faces, which was a great component library built on top of Java server faces. And it helped me quite a bit because, first of all, it provides some ready-to-use components. In this case, it's the data table with selectable radio buttons. I think that in basic Java server faces, I would have to use custom JavaScript scripts to create the radio buttons and select them. So, yeah, that's ready to use, and I know I want to use it in a couple of occasions, so that was definitely a plus. Then there's the field set component of prime faces. In this case, we can have the title on top with a picture and a short description. It's also toggleable. There's another case I wanted to use it. I didn't use it in the end, but still. And it is great documentation, along with the PDF that you can download from their website. In the showcase, there's the view, the HTML. There's a backend bin that provides all the functionality, and there's also code here that shows how we can use it. So yeah, it's right there to for me to use. So why shouldn't I? And it's time for the code and the live application. Now in this case, I would have to start my Glassfish now, because The laptop is quite old, so I didn't want it to catch fire or something in the process. Now for the application itself, well, of course it has many bugs, and of course it had to happen a couple of days before the presentation here, but I found a pretty hideous bug that breaks some of my project's functionality, but I didn't want to try and fix it at that point because, well, who knows what else may break. So,
you said it's your first demo. Once you've had lots of experience, you tend to keep quiet about the bugs and just make sure
yes.
you don't uncover them. That's what the rest of us do.
Well, maybe in a couple of years and after some presentations. I left many things unimplemented, well, not many, but simply because I wasn't sure how to approach that, that part. For example, I want to have a contact page where the users could contact the administration or, yeah. But I wasn't sure if I wanted to use maybe JSON or use the JMS API, so I left it incomplete, and I will.
You're talking about communication between the client and the server, or between?
That's something else. I wasn't sure how to do that as well. I mean, the user would anyway send a message to the server, right? So I think it could have been Java Mail 2, maybe. I'm not sure. But yeah, I didn't know how to implement that feature. So since it was a bit outside of the scope of this project, I kind of left it at that. And this is the landing page. Some of the out-of-the-box stuff is right here anyway. The template here is provided by NetBeans, and it's the default facelets template. I chose this because it just works, and I didn't want to mess with CSS, like I said. Here's one bug. Now, let's see first of all what a new user can do. They can create a new account, naturally. So, let's say just some simple credentials. Of course, it doesn't work because the email field has a validator for a specific pattern, and if it's not matched, then provides this this message. So it should be okay. Yes, this page is a bit incomplete as well, and that's another problem because I had to take care of every page and every message and every direction my program took, so at some point it was just chaotic. Now, let's log in as a new user. Yes. So, what the users can do now? First of all, they can view the available courses and select which ones they want to purchase. Courses. There are 4 simple ones in this part. Well, these are the field sets that I mentioned earlier from Prime Pages. Title, description, small picture, and the lecture titles underneath, along with a buy button, which actually puts the course in the shopping cart and a price. So yep, that's another one. So anyway, let's say that we want to buy this course. The prime faces graph appears saying that this course was added in the shopping cart. And let's get this one as well. Now the girl doesn't show. And let's say we want to buy the courses. So we go to the shopping cart and another prime faces component with the courses that we have entered in the shopping cart. And what we can do, well, of course, we can clear them or remove certain courses. And, well, of course, we want to purchase them, so let's go to the checkout page. This is a simple checkout phase because, well, in this place there should be integration with the PayPal API or some similar banking service, but that was completely out of the scope of my application, so I didn't want to mess with any of this. So it just uses a simple pattern that goes like this. Now we hit purchase and congratulates us for the purchase of the courses. And here's the huge bug that I mentioned, because for some reason it doesn't relate the two separate entities, the user and the courses. I don't know why. I have a couple of suspicions, and I'll mention them at some other point if I manage to fix it. Now, as a let's see what the users can do, what the administrators can do. We'll log in with my account. Now, the basic operations are, well, the create, read, update, and delete operations on the database. There's a page where they can. Yeah, the screen is too small. There's a page that they can view all the contents of the database. Of course, this isn't any good practice. It's just for showing how the JPA API works. So, well, first of all, we can search by username, name or email. Let's say in search field, and it provides two users that have A and S in their username. If we leave it empty, it just shows everything in the table. Of course, we can delete a user where growl is showed and the page is refreshed with the new table contents. The edit button doesn't work because I wasn't sure how to implement that, maybe with an invisible form. I don't know. I still haven't found a way to do that, but anyway. What else? They can create a user if they want to put them in a specific group or in user or administrator. And again, the validator for the email exists here, so if it's not, if this pattern doesn't get accepted. They can create courses. That's what the application is for, after all. All this, I don't know why it happens. Some prem faces glitch, maybe.
Is it an image or?
No, it's nothing. It's just the top view from prem faces, and for some reason it takes all the space. Like I said, there are some bugs here and there, but anyway, these are simple strings. The price is gets converted to a number, and the image is just a path to the server directory that all these assets are kept. Now, of course, the course shouldn't have only 3 lectures, and I wanted to make it dynamically so I could click a Add Tab button, but that was a bit more tricky than I expected, so it's left unimplemented for now. I have a couple of ideas on how to do all this, but we'll see. The JSON here is just a way to see how the JSON API works. In this case, I'm just showing the contents of the database, but I wanted this to be some sort of database backup service where I could download the contents in a JSON format and then upload it again with different data maybe, and the database would restructure. Well, that's for the administrators. But now that I remember it, I haven't shown the correct usage of the, because here, when a person has already purchased some courses, in the view page, the buy buttons are disabled because, well, they've already bought them, there's no reason for them to buy them again. And these 3 are bought, this isn't, so it's enabled. And in the profile page, these icons are enabled by default. And if we click in one of them, yeah, there's no internet right now, but this is just a YouTube video embedded in the accordion component of Prime Faces. It was the easiest way to do this, I think, because otherwise I would have to put video files in the server and maybe download them. Yeah, of course, courses to have more lectures, but these are just sample stuff. And if the course has any additional material, we can download them and for later viewing. That's all for the application. Little things about the code now. Well, first of all, the login mechanism is provided by Josh Juno and the Java Enterprise 7 recipes book. It uses the backing bin and an EJB to control the database and pull data from. I definitely wanted to use this approach instead of the standard form authentication with GlassFish, simply because it would be dead easy to retrieve the user's data and use them in a couple of pages or in the shopping cart where it would mention their credentials. And it's quite easy to use since it has a login method, which is called when we press a login button, and the logout one, which invalidates the user and the whole session and returns us to the logout page. Now, my entity classes are provided by NetBeans automatically. I didn't have to code anything here. All of these annotations and all of the property fields are just automatically generated by NetBeans, and it really saved a lot of time. All I had to do, I think, was enter these the mapping here, simply because at the point I generated these entity classes, I didn't have the mapping in mind or how they would relate to each other, so I had to do them by hand. And the relational mapping is quite tricky at some point. I think it took me a couple of weeks maybe to do it right. It's easier in SQL than in object programming. Now, users and groups aren't related to each other, which is fine by me because I wanted to show in the document, of course, how something that isn't related would have to write the code. For example, here where I register the user, all I have to do is this, actually call the entity manager and persist the argument to the database. But if it was, if they were related to each other, the persistence would happen for both of the items, so both of the entities. So in this case, I'm not using it, but what happens, I think, which is check out where I finalize the purchase. Now, when I call the persist user courses, where it's supposed to relate the two entities together, this user has bought these courses, it doesn't work. Now, one of the reasons is, for some reason, the lambda expression here doesn't work. It's either this or the in my on the enterprise Java bean that connects the two, which is here. Now, either it doesn't merge the two entities or it doesn't work according to the lambda expressions. I'll try to find a way to fix that because, well, it breaks functionality, so it shouldn't happen anyway. Now, the profile uses a simple backing bin, and it just checks if the user has bought these courses, so it disables or enables the icons. I'm pretty sure there are better ways of doing this. It's just that at that time I thought it was the best and I went for it. So I believe there's a lot of refactoring or even rewriting to do, but for now, I think it kind of works okay. So, actually, a lot more bugs than I expected, but anyway. And after all this, well, what's my conclusion about the Java Enterprise? First of all, it's a fantastic stack of technologies. I had lots of fun developing my application with it and writing the document, even though there are a couple of occasions that was, actually more than two, that I was frustrated or confused, or one time I even cried a little bit, but anyway, yeah, it was, it's just an amazing stack of technologies. It's really easy to start with this because actually all one has to do is download NetBeans, the Enterprise Edition, download Glasses, connect the two inside NetBeans, and you're good to go. All of the CDI bins, the JPA controllers, the entities, they're all generated from NetBeans. So yeah, there's nothing more to this. There's ridiculous amounts of resources, books, online tutorials, online videos. Anyway, ridiculous amounts though. And even though that some of them are maybe a bit outdated or for previous versions, with a little bit of conversion, they can work for later versions of the enterprise edition. So, and the great tooling, along with NetBeans that provides all this functionality out of the box, and the great editor and all the great conversions that it does. Java Enterprise is really amazing because, well, amazing things. Actually, I managed to do this application, which I think may be a bit too basic, but anyway, it's just really fun to work with, and that's definitely something that I would like to continue doing. And before I say thank you, I would like, first of all, to thank you, Tian, for reminding me of the conference and for suggesting that I made a presentation. I hope I didn't bore you too much or tired you, but yeah, that's all.